Right, guys, make sure that when we turn in our final draft that you are using MLA formatting. So that's Times New Roman, 12-point font, double space, your guys' names in alphabetical order by last name, then my name, class name, and then the date. And don't forget to center your title. Okay, so the phrasing in your hook is kind of awkward. So you say, the rivalry between two families has led to an attempted murder. Will Tybalt's plans be fulfilled, or will he refrain from his plan cowardly? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Will he cowardly refrain from his plan? I'm not quite sure how to rephrase that. But here, rather than using a comma, let's use a colon, because that will make it a little bit more clear that this question is asking based on the previous clause. And right now, here in the background context, you have to explain who Tybalt is, that this is from Romeo and Juliet, that this is a play by Shakespeare, that it's exploring ideas of gender identity and violence. And then your thesis will make a lot more sense, which your thesis is very strong, by the way. Do you mean Tybalt is a character who takes risks? Make sure you change that. Make sure you're using correct punctuation. Don't use an ellipsis except within quotes, so only use a period. And let's put a comma after pride there to kind of create that pause. And then whenever we have a conjunction like therefore, you want to use a semicolon instead of a comma at the word before it. Make sure you're embedding your first concrete detail here. And instead of commas between the act, scene, and line numbers, do periods without spaces between. But you do use a comma after the play in italics. You don't need to capitalize the H and he here, so go ahead and lowercase that, but you do need to capitalize Romeo. Connect this back to how pride is related to gender, traditional masculine roles or something that way. Make sure it's connected back to your thesis. And then add a transition and make sure you're embedding your evidence. And whenever you abbreviate Romeo and Juliet, make sure it is just ROM period. And notice you have a period in your quotation. Move that to after the citation, just like you did before, and remove this period here. In addition, make sure there's a space between the citation and your quote. I would say instead of doing the slash, do a comma. So Tybalt fulfills his masculine, comma, space, prideful role. That's going to make more sense. Combine can and not. Cannot is one word. Add a transition between body paragraphs here. Embed your evidence. Make sure you're abbreviating correctly and putting that space, as well as adding punctuation after the citation. Capitalize the T in Tybalt. Capitalize the R in Romeo. Transition with embedding as well. Make sure you're also transitioning between chunks. Correct your citation here. Capitalize the R in Romeo, and I think overall you need to connect this paragraph back to your thesis. Transition between body paragraphs here. You have strong topic sentences, just no transitions are currently there. Embed your evidence, correct your citation, move punctuation after the citation. Transition between chunks, your commentary is strong there. Move the punctuation after the parentheses, correct your citation. It's not super clear as to why Romeo is more feminine so far in your analysis, so maybe you can eliminate that phrase, or if you need to, add evidence of commentary showing Romeo's more feminine traits. Capitalize the T in Tybalt, capitalize the R in Romeo, and then you're good there. Add a colon here instead of a comma. And add maybe one or two more sentences in your conclusion with a bold claim, like we must blank, call your readers to action based on the evidence you've provided for them about the play and gender identity and violence. Okay, nice job.